Yeah, big news announced this week. I know that you found that very amusing, that clip, Tim. Good news for Charlie Austin. It was announced that Premier League clubs have agreed in principle for the use of VAR in the Premier League next season. Craig, VAR, are you a fan of it?
After that interview, I am.
You really like that. You said to me that's one of the best interviews you've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I loved his honesty, and he was right as well. And I was good the FA didn't do anything about it as well, because he wasn't direct towards the ref. It was
frustration.
Yeah, frustration, mistake. And I was against VAR. My reasons against it because, look, I was worried about it being too elite, where the best clubs, you know, the best stadiums, they get it in League One, League Two. And even like Parks, football, conference, all that type of stuff, they won't get the opportunity to use it, to make it fair for everyone. But I seen it in the World Cup, and it did work well. Of course, there's always going to be mistakes, human errors. Even with VAR, it will reduce it, but there will be the odd one or two. There will always be talking points, but especially over the last week, I think it's a good decision. Look, they've got it in other tournaments now. They've got it in other leagues, so it was just a matter of time before it happened. Yeah,
they need all the help they can get. You know, we've seen quite clearly over the last couple of weeks some poor decisions from the officials. Tough job. So give them the help. Give them the help they need. I mean, that's a brilliant interview. We loved that one from Charlie.
You like that?
But in that game, I mean, if VAR was out there, Watford had a stone wall penalty to make it 2-0. So that would have been given probably as well. So just to balance it out. But no, give them the help all they need, and I'm glad that they've made that decision to bring it in next season.
It's interesting, isn't it? Premier League clubs voted against VAR back in April. They now voted in favour for it. Why do you think there's been that change? Is a big part of that due to how successful it was in the World Cup?
Yeah, and probably like myself, because I've seen examples in Italy, and you know, I remember watching one game in Italy and I was in disbelief. It took like 5.5 minutes, where it was, you know, the game went on because he didn't give a penalty, and then as it went on, and that took a couple of minutes, obviously, and then they came back to it. He then goes to the screen, then he's looking, and it just went on for so long. And by the time the penalty was taken, this is just crazy. But I thought actually in the World Cup they used it well. They got it, you know. They looked, like I said, the World Cup final unfortunately wasn't the VAR's greatest moment.
It's a shame, isn't it? One of the worst decisions was in the World Cup final.
Exactly, but it wasn't a true reflection of how good VAR was in that tournament. And things like pulling, it just added to the tournament being better. So if it can add to the Premier League then being better, then I'm all for it then. I'm all for it. I want to be excited like everyone.
Yeah, Tim, why do you think we haven't seen it now? Other leagues have it, Serie A, La Liga, there's a lot of big leagues that have it now. Why is the Premier League behind the trend in VAR?
I just think they want to make sure that it's correct for our game. I think we have got the best game in the world, best competition. So we're just letting other people trying things out for us, and then we're going to make sure we get it when it's correct. And I think it's correct now. I think it can't get much better than what he's doing, and the timescale of what it's taking to get the decisions correct are pretty spot on now. So it's time. It's time. The time to bring it in now, and I think it's made the correct decision.
Would you have wanted it when you were a player?
No.
Not at all?
No. Couldn't get away with nothing, could you then?
Very good point. As a striker as well, one of the things that maybe the downsides of VAR is you see strikers scoring a goal and then it's like a delayed celebration because they don't know if it's going to be counted or it goes to VAR. Is that one of the negativities of VAR for you, or do the positives outweigh the negatives?
The positives outweigh the negatives. Yeah, look, it's like there's a few goals I remember, you know, I was given wrongly offside for, but then there's 1 or 2 goals I had down I was offside. So you like to say it balances itself out, but you just want a correct decision, and that's all. Whether it's for you or if it's against you, and if it helps the referee out, because you know the referees do have a tough job. You know, they really, really do, and I do believe we have some of the best refs in football in our league. But they're not going to get everything right. If this helps and it helps them get less stick, then I'm all for it as well.
A lot of people are talking about what instance it should and shouldn't be used for, because there is a danger if it's used too often, it does start the game. Are there certain instances you think it shouldn't be used for?
Yeah, quite a few. I think it's obviously clear and obvious.
Yeah.
I think the goal line technology is perfect, what we've done. We introduced that, that's fantastic, because it stops all arguments. We were talking about it earlier. You know, I used to complain, you know, 5 minutes after I thought the ball was in, I'm still in the ear of the referee, and now they just do this, and you can't say anything about it, you can't argue it. So I think anything what surrounds a goal, an impact of a real decision making of changing the face of the game, I think it has to be just really surrounded around the goals conceded.
A lot of positives, as we said. There are some instances, though, when you see penalties where you go to pundits, one pundit thinks it is a penalty, one pundit thinks it isn't a penalty. So there's going to be times when it's going to be hard to, even with VAR, for the ref to make a correct decision.
You're never going to get everything right. There's always going to be an opinion. A referee might see something different. What I'm a little bit against, and what you've got to be a little bit careful of, is slowing it down, bringing it to slow motion, because everything looks worse then.
Yeah.
Everything looks... and I think you just got to be a little bit careful with that. I like to see it in game time, so then he can see it straight off. When you slow it down that much, you will end up giving a foul or a penalty, or you're always going to go against... or for the player who was fouled, no matter in what case. But look, there's, like I said, look, if it helps the referees, then look, then I'm all for it. Like I said, I was against it, but got to move with the times, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, so get on with it.
Yeah, hopefully it helps the players, hopefully it helps the managers as well next season. Let's turn our attention now to management. 5 managers across the league sacked this week. Jokanovic, the most high profile, the first Premier League manager to go. Tim, what was your reaction to the news that Fulham had sacked Jokanovic? Oh,
no shock really, because of Jokanovic is struggling at the bottom end of the table, and that's what happens. There's a few other managers.
Is the list of the 5 that were departed this week?
Yeah, but it's not that many, in my opinion.
It's not been too bad
this week. I mean,
in a week.
I know that's a week, and it looks a lot, but across the board of all the leagues we have, I think it's been very few this season.
Yeah, you would have had all that in the Premier League last year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, very good point from Craig, actually. This time last year, a quarter of the Premier League managers had been sacked, 5 of them. So, if anything, it's getting better, you think? Yeah,
I do. I do. You know, watched Fulham a bit last year. Look, second half of the season, they come on really strong, put a great run together. So, looking at Fulham this year, maybe you would have thought he would have been given that time to be able to put that run again, because they do finish the second half of the season a lot stronger under the manager. But it was probably due to the money that was spent.
Yeah.
I watched against Cardiff this year compared to the previous year in the Championship, and I actually thought defensively they were worse this year. They were worse. They looked
even with all the money they've spent. Interesting, a lot of the money they spent was on the second players.
I was going to say, but the players who were playing defence were the same players they were last year. But the league's better. You know, Cardiff are better than they were last year. And a lot of the teams, and you're playing against top opposition. I just feel they're too open, open. Now they've got Ranieri in, and I think this is his 18th job. He just finds jobs like you know, the league's going to give him a little bit of credit for winning Leicester, but you know, he's been sacked about 13, 14 times. The guy's a machine. Makes sense. You definitely tighten him up. So yeah.
Tim, looking at the management graphic and the amount of managers that do go, we've spoken about last season, this season, is it something you want to get back into management, or does it worry you how quickly managers come and go?
No,
would you have taken a Fulham job?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If you get an opportunity to take a job in the Premier League, you have to take it.
Under any circumstance, you have to take it.
Well, why wouldn't you? You have to believe in your ability to be able to do the job. You know, obviously you want to take a job with the owners and chairman who have got realistic expectation for their football club. Now, the expectation at Fulham at the moment must be just to keep in the league, to stay in the league, and you'd have to back yourself to have a fighting chance to be able to do that. You know, I haven't seen their players up close. You know, obviously they brought in 12 new players for £110 million. Now, was it Jokanovic who made them signings or someone else? You know, obviously, it doesn't matter now, does it? Because there wasn't Ranieri signing, so he's just got to organise them, get them into a unit, find the best way to play and get some points on the board. Would I get back into it? Yeah, I think it's a madhouse. I think it is, you know, it's a roller coaster. But when you want to get in this roller coaster ride, you have to take it on the chin. If you don't win football matches, you've got to expect to get yourself sacked. And that's what happens. And as simple as that. There's no point crying about it. That's what the job's all about. Win games or risk that phone ringing to be the chairman on the other end saying, we no longer want you.
Craig, and finally, you're coaching at Cardiff at the minute. How's it going? And is management the long-term goal for you in the future?
I'd love to give it a go. But I'm learning a lot now. Like even, say, for instance, we come into November, I used about 4 different training pitches already this week. So, you know, the caravan's out, we're just going everywhere now. So it's just what we are and what we have to do. But it's good for my learning curve. It's not something that I was used to as a player. But as a, you know, coaching-wise, I see as a great breeding ground and a great way to learn. Enjoying every second of it. So I'd like to test myself But, you know, like Tim said, look, I'd like it to be a project and I like time. You ain't going to get time. You've got to concentrate on the now, get the results here and now, you know, because otherwise you will get sacked. But I'd like to see pushing into a future with it, that club, and a long-term project. But I'm realistic enough to know that you've got to get the results to get that time.